Good morning everyone and welcome to Jimmy Online. My name is Rodrigo Benavides and I'll be with you guys for the next 5 or 10 minutes. So welcome and let's start watching, because for today's episode we got a really interesting topic. Now, before starting into the actual topic of wrapper objects versus primitives, let's make a quick review over what are the two main differences between them. Alright, here we have primitive values are compared by value, meaning that the content is compared. On the other hand, we have objects, which will be compared by reference. The meaning of this is that even if we had two empty objects, they will never be the same because they are compared by reference. And then we'll have two different empty objects. Now, primitives are always immutable, meaning that its properties can't be changed, added, or removed. They will never be changed. But an object is mutable by default, meaning that you can normally freely change, add, or remove properties. Built-in natives. Let us check now what are the natives in JavaScript. What are the built-in functions? These natives are actually built-in functions, and we can use them with the keyword new. In the first line, we are creating a string object. And in the second line, we are creating a primitive value. Now, as a very quick reminder, do you guys remember what a function constructor is? We checked that in a previous chapter. Here we have a function declaration whose name starts with a capital letter. That is a standard for us to create a function constructor. Here we have two different variables. The first one is going to be a primitive value, while the second one is a built-in native. The type of the first one is a string, while in the second one it's an object. Boxing in JavaScript by using wrapper objects. Now let's check what is boxing and unboxing in JavaScript. We'll start with boxing. Now, this is a very important topic in JavaScript. The primitive values don't have actually properties or methods. When we want to use property or method like length or to uppercase, what JavaScript does is they create a wrapper object so that we can use such methods. Unboxing in JavaScript by using the method value_of. Now, on the other hand, if what we want to do is to get the value, the primitive value of the variable, what we can use is the method value_of. Here we have an example of three variables that are created with the three native objects. The first one is going to be a string, the second a number object, and the third one a Boolean object. Now, by using the method value_of, we can get the actual primitive value, which for the first one is going to be a string, for the second one is going to be a number, and for the third one is a Boolean. Now let's check in the browser some examples of all of these guys. Now, continuing with the examples of strings, we're going to create one first variable, which is a normal and simple string primitive type. And the second one is going to be a string object. So next, we're going to create a method and we're going to put it in the prototype of a string so that it's available for every string instance. Now we're going to call it, and we can see that for the first one, what it is returning, it's an object, and the type of the second one, it's also an object. Having two objects as a return of the getType method is totally expected because, for example, with the primitive value, by the time we are inside of the getType, this is pointing to the temporary grabber object, which is a string. And for the second variable, it has always been a string object. Now let's remember that the variable s, it's a primitive value. So if we simply get the type of this variable, it is gonna be a string because it is not grabbed into any object. But when we try to get the type of the second variable, which is a string object, as a result, we're gonna get an object type. Now, for this second exercise, we're gonna create another method. This method is gonna be getThis or printThis. And we're gonna just simply console log this. Now, what happens when our primitive types calls this method? As we can see, inside of it, we can see that it is an actual object, not a simple string. This is because by the time the method is being invoked, it is actually a string object. Now, in this last exercise, we're gonna check how the properties of a primitive value are never changing. This is because of the immutability feature. So we're trying to reassign a value to our property, which is the myCustom property. And as we can see, after we assign this value, when we're trying to print it, this is undefined. We have to remember that the grabber object that JavaScript creates, it's only a temporary one, because as long as we finish working with it, it is gonna be deleted. This is the end of the video. I hope that you liked it. I really hope that you found it interesting, and most of all, I hope to see you next week. See you guys. Bye bye.